Hello, dear viewers, wherever you may be around the world. Thank you for joining us for this edition of the News in English on Rwanda Television. My name is Serge Nhore. First, the headlines. The Rwanda Investigation Bureau has warned the country's social media influencers against promoting fraudulent schemes online. Other details. I hope you're having a great weekend. During the RPF Inkotanyi Party Extended Political Bureau meeting on Friday, His Excellency President Paul Kagame called on service providers, especially those in the hospitality sector, to improve the quality of the services they provide. And Gladys with more.
A report by the National Institute of Statistics of Rwanda shows that the hotel and restaurant sector declined by 16% in the first quarter of 2026. Stakeholders in the industry say they are continuing to implement measures aimed at improving service delivery.
In recent days, in partnership with the RwandaTV board, we launched what is known as workplace-based training. This initiative is in line with the guidance that the head of state has consistently given us. Those of us in the hotel and broader tourism industry are joining forces to train the young men and women we work with, equipping them with the basic knowledge and skills needed to care for customers and provide high-quality service.
Experts who closely monitor service delivery in Rwanda say that strengthening the culture of warmly welcoming customers and providing high-quality service is essential, as poor service hinders economic growth.
Have a gap when it comes to both customer care but also service delivery. In hospitality, it is an issue. When we normally go out, we go to these restaurants and hotels, and you find that you order something and it takes more than 30 minutes. And yet they have more than 5 staff walking around, and you ask why services, or why am I being are they delaying to serve me? So maybe it's a sector that has just grown recently in the last 15 years, whereby the expectations are high, but there is need for continuous education and training so that people within the hospitality industry can improve. When you compare with our neighbors, you go there and you find that the services are very fast. Few people doing a lot and serving very fast compared to our case. So that's an area that needs great efforts. When it comes to service delivery in other sectors, administrative sectors, there is also a challenge whereby you find that institutions that are supposed to approve licenses, import license, or even the revenue authority, you've imported stuff, you need to be cleared so that the goods can be taken on the market, and you find that people are delaying in the paperwork, people are not responding, or maybe the officer who is in charge to verify is not available, and there are no reasons to why he or she is not available, and you find that all those delays hinder economic development, because if someone has imported goods, he's expecting to put those goods on the market and be able to earn money, and also the government earns taxes. So if those goods spend 2 weeks or a month within the customs, so the business person is losing money, but also the government is losing taxes.
While closing the meeting of the RPF Inkotanyi Political Bureau, President Paul Kagame once again emphasized that providing quality service is everyone's responsibility because it contributes to national development.
Beyond that, our overall way of working, the quality of service everywhere, and how those services are delivered still need improvement. People who work that way are holding us back, especially since there are many. For example, you may order a cup of coffee, but it never arrives. I'm referring to common situations that people talk about all the time. You find someone waiting 15 or 20 minutes for the coffee they ordered, and no one even explains the reason for the delay. Such people damage the reputation of the businesses they work for and fail to provide the service customers came for. At the same time, there are others who do an excellent job.
Although the hotel and restaurant sector recorded a decline in the first quarter of 2026, NISR figures indicate that Rwanda's GDP grew by 10% compared to the same period in 2025, rising to 6.345 trillion Rwandan francs from 5.276 trillion Rwandan francs. Within that total, the service sector accounted for 52% of GDP.
Young people who are committed to working hard and improving their lives have urged those who have turned to drug abuse through peer pressure to abandon it, pointing out that it harms their health and has the potential to completely destroy their future if they do nothing to change. Across the country, many young people are engaged in different types of developmental activities. Some have become job creators, while others are employed, but they all share the same goal: to become self-reliant and improve their lives. They criticize their peers who simply follow the crowd and fall into harmful habits, including excessive alcohol consumption and drug abuse. In the advice he frequently gives to young people in particular, as well as to all Rwandans in general, President Paul Kagame has urged them to abandon worthless practices that harm their lives. Young people note that the head of state's advice is important to follow and that it is the key to a better future. Research conducted by the Rwanda Biomedical Center has found that 52% of young people aged between 14 and 35 have abused drugs at least once at one point in their lives. That is, RBC statistics show that over a period of any given 30-day period, between 28.5% and 34% of young people consume alcoholic beverages, while between 2.7% and 4.4% use cannabis. Now, the umbrella organization of associations representing survivors of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, Ibuka, has stressed that the 27-year prison sentence handed to Dr. Eugene Rwamucho on appeal demonstrates that he is not innocent, contrary to what he claimed throughout his defense. Survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi in Gishamvu have welcomed the sentence. The appeals court of Paris has found him guilty of conspiracy to commit genocide, complicity in genocide, and complicity in crimes against humanity. The 27 years prison sentence imposed on Eugene Rwamucho is the same sentence he received during his first instance trial in 2024. Ibuka President Philbert Kakwenzire has pointed out that although Dr. Eugene Rwamucho denied any involvement in the genocide against the Tutsi throughout his trial, the sentence he has received demonstrates that he is not innocent. The trial was conducted under the principle of universal jurisdiction, which allows states to prosecute individuals accused of serious international crimes, regardless of where those crimes were committed. Now, experts on African development have been noting that Rwanda's system of governance is an example that reflects the legacy of unity Nelson Mandela left for the African continent. This comes as the world celebrates Nelson Mandela International Day. Nelson Mandela passed away in 2013 at the age of 95. His fight against racial discrimination ended in a 27-year prison sentence for him. In 1993, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, and in 1994, he was elected as the first black president of South Africa. In 1998, Nelson Mandela delivered one of the keynote addresses during the 53rd session of the United Nations General Assembly, where he spoke out in defense of people who were being denied their fundamental rights. Among Nelson Mandela's enduring achievements was his advocacy for strong governance institutions across Africa. The experts also agree that many African leaders still have a long way to go in putting Nelson Mandela's ideals into practice. Nelson Mandela International Day, observed on his birthday, was proclaimed by the United Nations back in 2009. On the day, people around the world are encouraged to devote at least 67 minutes to acts of charity and community service in honor of the legacy of peace and reconciliation that Mandela left to the world, each minute representing a year Nelson Mandela devoted to public service and the fight for human rights. Now, moving on, the Rwanda Investigation Bureau has urged social media users in the country to refrain from promoting fraudulent schemes, warning that doing so could expose members of the public to theft or other consequences that may jeopardize their well-being. According to RIB's spokesperson, dishonesty, declining professional standards, and acting as advocates for those who exploit citizens are among the practices that have become increasingly common on social media. He notes that such concerns are not merely allegations, as they are also echoed by members of the public who criticize those engaged in such practices for placing personal gain, that is, ahead of professional ethics. Members of the general public are being urged not to believe everything they see on social media and instead exercise caution, carefully assessing information before becoming involved in activities that could leave them in serious financial problems. Thierry Murangira, citing the relevant provisions of the law, has urged journalists and social media users to exercise greater responsibility, warning that they will face legal action if the content they promote causes harm to members of the public, noting that such conduct has become excessive. According to the Rwanda Governance Board, the country currently has more than 40 registered media organizations, over 50 print newspapers, and more than 100 online news publications. However, as with many other professions, journalism has increasingly become an activity that virtually anyone can engage in through social media, advances in technology, and widespread internet access. As a result, both accurate information and baseless rumors have become more widespread, prompting authorities to urge the public to exercise caution regarding everything they hear, see, and read. That's it for the news, for now at least. Stay with Rwanda Television as the programs continue. Until we see each other again, it's goodbye.